A congressional debate this morning on Face the State. An Eyewitness News special, a Face the State debate between Connecticut's longest-serving member of Congress and her Republican challenger, Wayne Winsley. All straight ahead this morning, Sunday, October 21st, 2012.
This is Face the State with Dennis House, Connecticut's most watched local political program.
Good morning and welcome to a debate for the candidates for Congress in the 3rd District. First, the incumbent, Democrat DeLauro, and her Republican challenger, Wayne Winsley. And with me here today on this Sunday morning, we thank you very much for being here. Let's to go through the rules rather quickly. Each candidate will get 90 seconds to answer, and there will be a 30-second rebuttal from the first person to respond. And Mrs. DeLauro, you'll get the first question today. And there'll also be a closing statement at the end of the program. Attendance has been an issue in the U.S. Senate race. I want to ask you, because much has been made of your colleague Chris Murphy's attendance record at some hearings. What is your attendance record for these hearings? And are these hearings important to attend?
Well, first of all, with the attendance records, each chairman of a committee makes a determination as to whether or not they want to take attendance or not. So it isn't a standard operating procedure. Everyone can do what they want to do. In my case, since in the last Congress I chaired the Agriculture Subcommittee, and in this Congress I was the ranking or the senior Democrat on the Labor, Health and Human Services Subcommittee, that I had attendance, 100% attendance at all of those. I was responsible for chairing the meeting and then also for serving as a senior Democrat. But the committee hearings are one way in which you engage and deal with legislation, because a lot of it is the back and forth, the give and take between members, the give and take between the chairman of the committee, and that is the way in which it is done. Oftentimes you have 2 or 3 committee hearings at one time, so you have to make a selection of which one you will go to. My overall record in the House, my voting record is about 99%. But it is not a set, hard and fast rule as to what does. What is more important than any of that is, what are your accomplishments? What have you done? What is the legislation that you've introduced and that you've sponsored and were able to get the co-sponsors on?
Thank you, Mrs. DeLauro. Mr. Winsley, you have 90 seconds.
Okay. What were you actually asking me?
Well, I'm asking you about these hearings. How important are these congressional hearings that the Congress people are supposed to go to?
I believe that they are vitally important. I mean, that's part of the job. One of the things that I will guarantee the voters of Connecticut in the 3rd District, and quite frankly across Connecticut, is that not only will I show up when I'm supposed to be there, but I'll also be effective when I'm there. For instance, one difference between the incumbent and myself, I will never vote for things that I know and believe to be absurd and ridiculous, which is exactly what the incumbent did last year when she voted to recognize 2 tablespoons of tomato sauce as a serving of vegetable for our school children. Not only did she vote for it, but as she just mentioned, she was chair of the committee, so she was in the committee that put it forward, so she had 2 opportunities to stand up and say, this is absurd, it's ridiculous, and I won't support it. But instead, she voted for it and gave the reason that, well, there was food stamps and WIC tied to the bill. So I guess the logic is because there was WIC for the parents, they wouldn't notice that their kids were getting kicked under the bus at the same time.
All right, thank you. And you have 30 seconds to respond.
I think it's a question that my opponent truly doesn't understand the nature of the Congress. There's large bills. Sometimes you don't get to do whatever you would like to do. And the preponderance of the bill, which addresses the particular issue, and that it is going to look at how we, in fact, make our school lunches, our school breakfast, more nutrition in a whole variety of ways. Oftentimes, a special interest will come along, get that into the bill, which often occurs from the other side of the aisle, and in fact, then you have to decide whether to vote for the bill to move forward or not to vote at all. And clearly my opponent doesn't understand how the Congress works.
Thank you, Mrs. DeLauro. Our next question for Mr. Winsley. Unemployment in New Haven County stands right now at 10.1%. It was 10.2 on Election Day 2 years ago when Mrs. DeLauro won her last term. Why has there been no change in the job situation?
Because for one thing, we've had totally ineffective representation at all levels. I am for private sector jobs for everyone, including the incumbents in our legislative delegation to Washington. We have to remove the shackles from our economy so that small and medium-sized businesses can grow and begin to hire people again. That's how you move more people from food stamps to full-time employment. And you do that. You know, someone I respect said, you can't hate jobs or love jobs but hate job creators. And I believe that. And the proof is my opponent, the incumbent, has been basically a job hater or a job creator, a hater of job creators for 22 years. And there are fewer jobs right now in Connecticut than there were when she first took office. And that's one thing that I'm going to change. You have a choice. The voters have a choice between more food stamps and full-time employment, free diapers or free enterprise. That's the choice. And I believe that come November 6th, more voters are going to look at that choice and say, yes, we all win with Winsley.
Mr. Winsley, thank you. Mrs. DeLauro, why has there been no change in unemployment in New Haven County in 2 years?
Well, the fact of the matter, before the recession, which was the biggest financial crisis we've had since the Great Depression, the unemployment rate was about 4%. But we had an enormous recession, which put people out of work. What we need to do is to create jobs, and I've done a whole lot of work in that effort. First of all, I think what we need to do is, in terms of creating jobs, which is the issue, the most important thing we can do is rebuild the economy, rebuild the middle class, create jobs. How do you do that? First, I believe you invest in infrastructure, which I have done in transportation projects. We put people to work to build the Q Bridge, to do the Amtrak Railroad Bridge, to do the Moses Wheeler Bridge. It didn't get built by itself. But you invest in infrastructure. My legislation, the National Infrastructure Development Bank, would leverage public-private partnerships and public investments. The second thing that you do is that you provide tax cuts for small businesses, which I have voted for, and tax cuts for individuals. Education and training. We need to educate, train our people so that they can overcome that skills gap and be able to get a job. Manufacturing. We're a manufacturing state. I work with the Greater New Haven Manufacturing Association, and we have put people to work. And then, thank you.
So,
Okay.
and Mr. Winsley, you have 30 seconds to respond.
I've been speaking to small business owners, medium-sized business owners throughout the district, and their main concerns are the cost of doing business, the overwhelming and choking restrictions and regulations that keep them from hiring people. So again, we have to create an environment that is job-friendly, and that is how we will start seeing more people getting back to work in Connecticut.
Thank you. Our next question goes to Mrs. DeLauro. New Haven had a violent year last year, and in the wake of the shooting of a toddler in New Haven just last week, do you favor strengthening the gun laws already in effect?
Yeah, I think, look, first of all, I'm a believer in the Second Amendment. I also think that we need to preserve rights for hunters, for sportsmen. But we also have to take a look at what happened in New Haven, what happened in Aurora, Colorado, and we have to apply some common sense to this entire issue. And that, for me, includes, with the sale of a gun, with a child safety lock on it. I would ban assault weapons and have voted to ban assault weapons. I would ban the ammunition clips, which allow you to fire off, 100 rounds, which is what happened in Colorado, to see so much death and destruction. What we need to do is to come to a consensus, to find common ground. We also need to look at how we vet people who are purchasing guns. Those are kinds of common sense procedures, in my view, which allow us to have hunters, sportsmen, be able to use their guns for those purposes, and at the same time be able to ensure the public health and safety.
Mr. Winsley, you have 9 seconds.
Number one, there is no need for further restrictions on law-abiding gun owners, and I would not support the ban on assault weapons, clips, or anything like that. What we have is a failure to address some of the root causes of our crime, and we have to start punishing those who commit crimes, violent crimes with weapons. Right now in New Haven, we have a problem with young kids running around on bicycles, robbing people. They're not doing it because they're hungry. They're doing it because they lack direction. They don't need a food stamp. They need role models. We need to start addressing some of the problems that we have in our communities. When our children realize that they have other choices, and they have choices that are shown to them by young people that are like them, that are working, that are productive members of society, you're going to start to see a change. I am all for prosecuting people that commit crimes with weapons, but under no circumstances am I interested in infringing on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens at all.
Mr. Winsley, Mrs. DeLauro, you have 30 seconds.
I would just say that, I said what I was going to do, what I would do, what I am for. And I think that clearly, in a place like New Haven, where we've had community policing, we've tried to address those issues. But nevertheless, we have to be in the business of prevention, not prosecuting after a crime has been committed and people are dead. What we need to do is to say, how do we prevent